welcome. And I'd like to introduce Melissa Borja from the Ministerial Search Committee to say a few words of welcome.
Good morning. Good morning. My name is Melissa Borja. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a member of your Ministerial Search Committee. If you are, I know, whoop whoop, okay. If you are here for the first time, thank you for joining us. We look forward to getting to know you. We invite everyone present in the sanctuary today to join our in-person coffee hour immediately after the service. And the coffee is really good. During our service, there's time for sharing the joys and sorrows of our lives with one another. Cards for sharing your joys and sorrows are on the in the entrance, by the entrance to the sanctuary. So we ask that you pick them up and fill them out prior to that section of the service. Rooted in the values of Unitarian Universalism, we covenant to be a congregation where people of all generations find meaning and purpose. We work to be a congregation that champions justice by actively working to dismantle oppression, uplift marginalized voices, and build diverse, multicultural communities of fairness and belonging. We are so glad that you are with us here today, and we hope that you find this service inspiring and meaningful.
Good morning. My name is John Cody, he, him, and I'll be your service leader today, but for those of you who may be new to UUI, or maybe even those of you who are here for the first time, I am not your regular minister. We have a regular minister, and we have a great team of worship associates, but I am none of those. They were all out of town for the 4th of July weekend, and I'm your poor substitute today. So, we will now light our chalice. A lit chalice is the symbol of our faith as Unitarian Universalists, reminding us of those who risked everything for freedom and our charge to carry that light forward. Today, our chalice will be lit by Andrea Groner. As we light our chalice in the sanctuary, I invite those on Zoom to light a chalice or a candle, or just type in your location, LC, Broad Ripple, or wherever you are. And our opening reading today is a poem I wrote in happier times, at least happier times for me. I don't want to imply that these aren't happy times for people who think they are. And I read it in the pulpit just after I wrote it years ago, and hopefully, if you remember it fondly, but hopefully you just don't remember it and this is your first time. It's called Brides in a Bar, Summer 2015. Two brides in a bar at the city market, a bouquet and two beers between them, relief and love in their smiling eyes a few days after Obergefell. I, with my lone glass, waiting for my own bride, watching the newlyweds choking back tears, raising a glass of cheer as they rise to leave back to the streets where love is finally love. They toast back, holding hands, wrapped in overwhelming joy, walking away together into our new world. And now our opening hymn is number 291, Die Gedanken sind frei, and Andrea will lead us.
Please rise and bow your spirit.
El amor es el espíritu de esta iglesia, y el servicio es su ley. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar la verdad en el amor y ayudarnos unos a otros. Este es nuestro pacto. You may be seated now. Our congregation is a lively community with many opportunities to participate. Here are a few announcements for today, but please check your order of service where you will certainly find more announcements. First of all, and it's my great pleasure to have you look at the walls which are covered. We are surrounded by the photos of a friend of mine, a friend of all of ours, Bob Dvorak. It's just stunning work, and I encourage you to stay after the service and look at these photos. Bob is one of the talented artists among us. The Fine Arts Committee of our church tries to feature the work of our in-house artists. Bob has traveled the world and shares his stories through these engaging photos. And his work will be on view through August 10th, and there will be a reception for his show on July 13th at 1 p.m. Knowing Bobby might have wine, I don't know. But anyway, you should come if you can. And second is another Fine Arts Committee announcement. The Fine Arts Committee is hosting an art day en plein air on July 16th from 11 to 2 at Holcomb Gardens. Bring your paints, pencils, or a camera, or bring a pencil and paper, and be ready to create. See Brittany Fukushima for more information. And third, UUI will be offering a 3-session online class on transgender, non-binary issues and advocacy. This will answer your questions about trans, non-binary issues and give you some ideas about how to live your life and be an advocate. See Holly Hendrickson or Sarah Nemesek at the welcome desk today for more information. These classes will run Sunday evening, July 20th, 27th, and August 3rd on Zoom. And now you can see the church is set up a little bit differently today. We don't have a pulpit, and we have moved the Joys and Concern table over to the side. When we do this, you can pass by in 2 lines, because now we enter the time of the service where we share our joys and concerns, our joys and sorrows with one another so that they may be held in community. As the music plays, I invite people in the sanctuary to come up and drop a stone into the bowl if something is on your heart today. Please use both sides of the table. As I said, if you've written your joy or sorrow on a card, and once again, there are cards back on the little table there. Please fill them out beforehand and come down here with the filled out card. For those of you on Zoom, we invite you to use the chat feature to write a joy and concern that you would like to be read in front of the congregation. Please include your name and your pronouns. I will only use your first name. If you'd like any of these read out loud, please indicate so either on Zoom or on your card. On Zoom, you can not drop a stone, but you can write DS, and we will know that you dropped a stone. So, come forward if you have a joy or a sorrow. not be shared today, we know there are many more joys and sorrows that remain in our hearts and in our minds. Here are a couple that are shared. Crow, Katrina, and Radia are at the veterinary hospital with Crow's cat, who is in critical condition. So let's all have a, cats are important in this world. Let's have a few thoughts about that. And I love this, Teresa says she is so happy to be living close to Ryan. That's pretty good. There they are right there. Let's take a minute for prayer and meditation right now. Take a deep breath and out. Another deep breath and out. Our meditation words today are another poem I wrote a while ago called I Am of the Age. I am of the age when friends are dying. Most older, some not. Holes in my life, it happens, can't prepare. Life's holes still isolated, not knit together into larger voids. Edging closer, blanket of life, losing warmth, year by year. Blessed be and amen. Our meditation hymn today is 298, Wake Now My Senses. So the whole service today will be Words for All Ages. I am going to tell a story first. So anybody who wants to do the traditional thing and come up in front can do that. You can stay there for the whole service. You can come up in front for just the story. but the whole thing is words for all ages. And the first story is a true story, or let's put it this way, since I wrote it just the other day, and the events I'm describing happened 40 years ago, it's as true as my old mind can make it. The story is about a witch, the Witch of Endor. It's kind of a seafaring story, nautical theme. So does anybody know what port and starboard are? Yes.
Port is your left, starboard is your right.
There you go, on a ship. And bow and stern? Front and back. There you go. Well, anyway, that's not that important. So let's just get into it. The Witch of Endor. And by the way, everything that is read in this sermon are my words, so I won't say who wrote anything because I wrote it. The witch slipped into the inlet, dropping her sails some 70 meters off our port bow. See, there's that port thing. Just as Tommy hooked the big tarpon in the channel off to our starboard. The three-quarter moon behind the witch outlined her sleek wooden 20 meters in a glow while it played directly on Tommy's fish as it skipped across the water and fought against the line. I wanted to watch the fight, and I did from time to time, turning from the hauntingly beautiful Ketch as her lone sailor, slender, with a silver ponytail knotted in 4 bundles, swinging down his back to his belt, set the anchor and tended to the rigging. As the sailor went below, the running lights went out, and just the moon and a faint pair of lamps fore and aft revealed the witch's sleek profile with her name, Witch of Endor, painted in runic script just below her forward gunwale. Tommy played the big tarpon for what seemed like an hour. It was noisy, a beautiful fight, and when the giant fish finally tired and came alongside our boat, its big silver scales showed a rainbow of colors in the bright moonlight. We unhooked the tired fighter, and its tail flipped us a splash of goodbye as it swam off. We all made a last toast to Tommy's victory over the fish, and just before slipping below for the night, I turned again to the witch. Her dark green trim cast an eerie backlit glow in the midnight. It was a restless sleep, and I woke just as the sun was beginning to glow in the east. Up on deck, I expected to see the witch at anchor, but just caught a glimpse of her stern under full sail headed back out into the open ocean. The Witch of Endor still sails silently into my dreams on restless nights. What inspired her biblical name, and who was the gaunt, silver-haired sailor? Maybe the stories I have put together on those sleepless nights have some truth, but who knows? When I was asked to do this service, I proposed a poetry service because we do a poetry service every year at this church, or almost every year since I've been here. But as the service came together, it turned out not to be all about poetry. I really love poetry, but I've come to realize over the years that I like storytelling. I like poetry for its unique way of telling a story, but my stories don't have to be poems. And all of the stories I am about to tell are mine. Now back to the Witch of Endor. What I read was an absolutely true story about something that really happened to me. I saw the witch on a fishing trip down at the southern tip of the Florida Keys with a bunch of buddies of mine from Bloomington, probably in the mid-'70s, the late '70s, I can't remember exactly, and I don't have a whole lot of pictures to remind me, so I have to paint this picture. There are a lot of stories from that trip, but none of the fish or the food of the camaraderie sticks with me like the story of the witch, the beautiful, mysterious witch. As I said, she sails into my dreams, and I fill in the blanks with new story. On this topic, making stories, the amazing writer Catherine Rundell. Does anybody know who Catherine Rundell is? She's an award-winning children's author. It's funny that gray-haired people know who she is. But she's written books like Rooftoppers and Impossible Creatures, which are great books. And she said something very brief and very profound about storytelling. She was talking about the influence that the series The Chronicles of Narnia had on her. And she said, with Narnia, I could imagine things that were not true, but would tell me about things that are true. I could imagine things that were not true, but would tell me about things that are true. And here again, back to the witch. I know her name comes from 1 Samuel 28 in the Hebrew Bible. The witch was a wise woman who Saul consults. You can go read that in the Hebrew Bible if you want to. But in my dreams, the boat's name was given to her by the silver-haired sailor so that she would be a wise guide in a stormy sea. In my dreams, the silver-haired sailor has sailed Sorry, this air pollution is killing my throat, sorry. But in my dreams, the silver-haired sailor has sailed with the witch all his life, from port to port and through the 7 seas, only coming ashore for provisions and perhaps a pint over which he tells stories with other old sailors he knows along the way. And maybe some of that is true. It might as well be true, because all I saw of the witch and its sailor was on that one enchanted evening, an early morning in the inlet between Fort Jefferson and Bush Key in the Dry Tortugas at the end of the Florida Keys. And that's how poems and prose come to me. My mind fills in the blanks in what you might call real life. Imagination makes experiences, both mundane and special, into stories. Anything like looking down from an airplane, thinking about my late father, taking a tour of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington might be a story. I hope we all sometimes have poetic days, storytelling days. So poetic days. A wise friend once quipped over a beer at Nick's way back in the day, when if memory serves, Nick's best was high life. That as you age, it takes a special day to be a day you remember. Little did my friend know that a day would come when Facebook memories would remind me of all of my days. Still, I suppose he may have been right, that some days are more poetic. October 12th, 2016. South down the lakeshore, Chicago appears below through clouds, bathed in golden light. March 14th, 2014. Missed my dad today. Saw his face in the mirror, smiling through the steam. April 20th, 2012. Raindrops splash granite on the Vietnam War wall. Each name a tear. And this is for Ryan. Sometimes a song inspires a story. Sometimes just the song is enough, but sometimes a song turns into an earworm. On a certain day, and it makes me write, and this one is about a Grateful Dead song, so for Ryan, but for anybody else who's a Deadhead. It's my dang birthday. You'd think the earworm would go away. The greatest rock and roll story ever told, playing clips between my ears, since Billy's homage at the Capitol Theater streamed my brain days ago. I've got up and wandered on down, tried to wander on down and away from the city. But I'm an old man. My name's not August West. I don't want a dime. I don't need a dime for a cup of coffee. I don't sleep down by the docks of the city. I'm a clean sheets, easy life old man, dollar in my pocket, drinking chai tea latte, tuned into the stream. But I can't get up and fly away, can't get up and fly away. Try to get up, wander downtown, nowhere to go but just hang around, song between my ears, that song, and I know my girl, I know that girl, she's been true to me. From time to time, I think about writing and why I write. I don't write down my stories for money or even usually to read to somebody else. I just need to do it. I wrote this story about writing a couple of years ago. You might know the occasion. It's called Crying and Writing, and you already know part of this. Crying and writing are things I'm usually happy to do. A new friend wrote a beautiful piece about crying last night. I was crying with her before I read what she wrote. I didn't even know her when I started crying, but we were crying about the same thing. Then she read something I wrote, and I read something she wrote, and we were connected. I'm still, even after all of my years, not sure what inspires my crying or my writing. You'd think the crying part would be easy to figure, but it's really not. I have cried when things were sad. I had a good crying jag at the cemetery when they buried my father-in-law. But even then, that seems strange. Sad things don't always make me cry. The urge to write comes on just as randomly. I used to fly every week for work. The urge to write hit me a lot when trapped at 35,000 feet inside that little metal tube with wings. Flying is sort of happy isolation for me. I guess it takes me out of my element. It's an artificial thing for a wingless human to do. I'm happy being out of my element. Being out of my element often prompts conversations with strangers and writing. As I get older, maybe I should be closer to figuring all this out. I'm not flying all that much anymore. I have more time on my hands. You think I'd be out of my element less. But the fact is that not flying and having time on my hands is out of my element. I don't cry a lot. I'm not generally worried. I'm not all that stir-crazy. I talk with friends who I haven't seen in years. I wonder a lot. I wonder how things might be on the other side of all this pandemic. I have hope that things might somehow be better. Anyway, I was happy to cry last night, even though losing John Prine was an achingly sad thing. I will always have what he wrote, and though I know I will never write like he did, I'm happy that I want to write, and somehow happy that there are other humans out there who write and cry with me. So interestingly enough, the woman I referenced at the beginning as a new friend became a pretty good friend after that night John Prine died. She was a real writer. She was the retired managing editor of the Detroit Free Press. Reading what she wrote and having her read what I wrote became a continuing inspiration to me. You know, finding friends online sort of seems to go against the grain of most current thinking. You know, people say that the internet and especially social media is the root of most of today's evil. But I get it. I do get it. and maybe it is, but I think if you do a good job of curating and cultivating your online life, you can find friends and inspirations from time to time. Here's a poem I wrote about that last New Year's Eve. It's called Happy New Year, Friends. Happy New Year to my screen friends, to some of you also that I knew as a child and lost through time and distance, to be reunited in this ether. Some of you I met just here, your faces, simple iPhone shots, seen in resolution too low to make you real. You're real, made deeper by your words, by your pictures, where you and I intersect. Some of your faces end up real flesh and bone over a lunch or a walk down Columbus Avenue. Some of you I'll never see in the flesh, but love as the light of a comment or a post or a smirk or a tear finds its way to my screen. Happy New Year, friends. I guess that's fireworks smoke in my throat. I don't know. Anyway, I get together with a couple of the other guys from church here and read poetry once or twice a month. We mostly read poetry by real poets, but from time to time we interject a poem of our own, and I try to write one for every get-together. I recently wrote one about another passion of mine. It's called A Photographer's Poem. To make my camera really see, to see the joy behind the smile, the sense, the feels that so beguile, it takes some magic, some mystery. For colors come not just from eyes. I taste, I sense, I smell the wind. With only eyes my vision's trimmed. The world through lens holds scant surprise. Without the truth of all that lies under the skin and past in time, beauty deep found under grime, to eye and lens all so disguised. But sometimes magic through lens will stream and paint what's hidden underneath with colors only soul unsheathes, that you can see the scene I dream. Once again, that theme is sort of that there are always gaps in what we think of as reality that a storyteller has to fill in, that probably all of us fill in our own ways. We fill the slots in reality with our own extrapolated meaning. Slots. Things exist in slots of time. Even stars have an end. Slots overlapping, slots apart. Time is not a slot, but a blend. We fill life's slot, and it is filled with friends, with poems, with war. Lives are short and lives are long. Some mean little, some mean more. Life always with beginning and end. All life filling a slot in time, part of a story a poet penned, an actor's pantomime. I called this the first time I tried to get a title, because you have to have a title when you do a service, that I called it Poetry is My Second Church, but it's really storytelling, or writing is my second church. Some people have meditation. We all need something, some conscious practice that keeps us sane, that fills the blanks in our lives, gives us peace. Some find some time to fill in your blanks, to flesh out your story. There are a lot of ways to get this done. Don't let life's little inspirations pass you by. Life is full of little inspirations. If only one can open our hearts and let them in. Sometimes inspirations are the smallest things, like a walk down Sycamore Hill. After a tossing and turning night, thinking about trifling this or trifling that, I need an early morning walk down Sycamore Hill with the full moon lighting my way, the crisp stars twinkling their blissful tunes. My destination, a newspaper wrapped in orange plastic at the end of the drive. Let the smallest things inspire you, and may it be so. And our special music today is so perfectly accoded to this sermon on storytelling and writing. So, Patrick, Sylvia, take it away.
If you know the words, feel so inclined to join in. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land is made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled, and I followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. When the sun comes shining, then I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, and the dust clouds rolling. A voice came chanting as the fog was lifting. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Islands, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me.
Woody Guthrie was my dad's poet, so thank you, Patrick and Sylvia. I keep telling you that we have a lot of artists in this church, and it's true. It's now time for our offertory. Giving is an act of faith. We believe that what we have to offer makes a difference in this world. We may not see the effect of what we give, but still we give, trusting in the life and works of this church. And I invite you now to give as an act of faith. We share the plate here at UUI, and part of our collection today will go to support the Indiana Urban League. Urban League's mission is to empower African Americans and disadvantaged individuals to achieve social and economic equality, improved quality of life through programs and services and advocacy in education, workforce development, entrepreneurship, health, and housing. You can go to the Support UUI page on our website and go to the electronic payments and follow the instructions online, but that's hard. If you do it, choose Share the Plate in the drop-down. A link has been placed in the chat to that, but the easiest way is that you can text a number that we will share right now, 317-483-7999, and you will get a link to enter your payment on your phone. You only need that link for the first time, and then from then on, giving will be as easy as sending a text. And again, if you want to share, if you're making a pledge, don't do this, but if you want to share your contribution, just write share after the amount. The offering will now be received. May it be most joyfully given. Thank you for your generosity, and thank you to Sylvia and Chick Corea for that wonderful tune. Our closing words today are another poem I wrote a while back called Heartstrings. When you pluck the strings of a guitar, put bow to the strings of a fiddle next to another guitar or fiddle whose strings are not plucked or bowed. The strings of the instrument, unplucked, unbowed, still vibrate a bit, in tune with the sounding of the other. Heartstrings are the same. If your heart vibrates from the sound of another heart, take time to feel your own and the other. Our closing hymn, if you will stand if you are able, is number 16 in the gray hymnal, "'Tis a Gift to Be Simple." Andrea?
And when we find ourselves in a place
Please join me in our chalice extinguishing words on the screen and printed in your order of service. Now we extinguish the flame of our chalice, but not the light of understanding, the warmth of compassion, or the fire of commitment. Let us keep these with us until we meet again, and go in peace.